Shalom, this is Avram Shira from Gush Etzion. We're by a beautiful Mayan here, Erev Shabbat. And behind me is the actual water flow that is coming out of the mountain into several pools. And you'll probably see perhaps a video connected to it. This place is special to us here in the Gush because there's no building around it. It is all only nature and full of roads and places that people go to be alone, to commune with nature, and of course to commune with our Creator. Today, Erev Shabbat, we're going to tell a little story from Rebbe Nachman, which is a wonderful metaphor for a lot of things that we experience in our relationship to ourselves, to our families, to our King in heaven. And the story is rather short, but I think it's worth going through at a deep level. On the Shabbat of Hanukkah, he told a story that was partially forgotten. It involved the son of a king who was far away from his father. And certainly that should echo with us pretty deeply, that we are all sons of the king and we are all far away from heaven, our Father. And in this great distance, the son yearned for his father, the king, and he longed for him, and he thought of him, and remembered life in the palace. And he had vague memories of what it was like when he was young, living close to his father, the king, in his palace. And one day he received a letter from his father. And he was very happy, excited and joyous to finally receive a letter from his father, who had been out of touch with for so long. And of course the letter, after he read it, and it was handwritten, gave him even more longing and joy to be with his father than he had before. When they were just separated by distance and time, now he was much closer, and he felt his father's closeness in the letter. Now, of course, this letter, we can understand, is the Torah itself. And so, he yearned very much, at least to reach out and touch his father, to hug him, to hold him, even to grasp his hand. And if he longed for his father to reach out and touch him with his hand. Now there's nothing more pleasant, when you have a parent that loves you and they reach out and give you a hug or even a gentle touch. Certainly when you're young, you might not appreciate it as much, but as we get older, we can appreciate such things as a gentle gesture of that type. And the son was longing for his father's touch. And he reached out, and of course there was nothing there but the letter. And then he looked at the handwriting on the letter and he realized that this was his father's own personal handwriting. And the handwriting, we know, contains a trace of a person's soul. That's the basis of all graphology, by the way. And so the handwriting of the king became even more precious to the son, that he felt his father's presence when he was writing the letter to him, because his father's soul was attached to the letters in the handwriting. And this brought it even closer to him. So the son felt the presence of the king, and he reached out to touch the letter again, as if he was holding his father's hand. And that gave him great longing and joy, and the sense of the bittersweetness of the distance from those we love. And of course, this story is real without any metaphoric interpretation. It's a real story because we all experience these things in life. But there is this great level of the metaphor teaching us about our relationship with God and the Torah. That an eternal, infinite being has a difficult time revealing himself without causing big problems down here. God is, when he reveals himself, usually the earth trembles and the mountains catch on fire and who knows what else. So Hashem condensed and contracted himself into the Torah. And so when we reach out to the Torah, we really are reaching out to God's hand and God's handwriting. And if you learn the letters and you learn the cantillations and the vowels and the flags, or the tagim as they're called, on the tops of the letters, and we learn the music of the Torah itself, then we get even closer to the handwriting of Hashem. And of course, His infinite soul is attached to that writing, just as our souls are attached to our handwriting. You know, a lot of people today don't even know what a pen and paper look like, you know, and they write on computers all the time. But it is a particularly useful, joyous, I find it a focused exercise to write in longhand before I commit anything to the computer. And I feel there is something very natural about that. And this is all, I think, a certain way that our soul, Rebbe Nachman teaches that the soul comes out down through the heart, into the arm, into the pen, onto the ink, then onto the page. So what is your soul? Is that precise contraction of your intention onto ink, onto paper. And it's true with an artist too. That whatever creation of beauty that they want to give, to express, to show, it has to come out through the hand, onto the brush, onto the canvas, or onto the letters and into the words and the sentences. So it is a wonderful meditation to write. And in essence, it is closer to Hashem than writing on a computer. And we know that we are taught that a person does reveal himself through his handwriting. And of course, in our quest for God, in our search for the truth, that every moment that we can connect is more precious. And so we should all be blessed this Shabbat as we learn the Torah, as we hear the Torah, as we look at the letters and the words and the sentences, to understand it is not just a book. God forbid, it is much, much more than a book. It is God's soul contracted into the letters of the Torah. So you should all have a wonderful Shabbat. We should be blessed with the insight of who we are and who God is, and celebrate that relationship. We'll see you next week on Facebook and Patreon, YouTube, and check out our website. We've got new poems coming out and lectures and quotes. So there's always something new in the Torah. Shabbat Shalom.